Questions for Hayden?
How often do you review the profile with the employee, irrespective of those sort of ancillary incidents that may cause you to pull someone in specifically?
The profile is an annual document on a rolling period, so it's connected to the employee's anniversary date.
Hire date?
Yeah.
And who participates in that review process?
It is a review with the assistant manager at the garage where the employee works
So
at.
that would be their supervisor?
That's correct.
Okay. Thanks.
Is there any connection between compensation and performance, just to put it simply? You're doing a lot of things here in terms of training and developing people, monitoring performance. You are making non-monetary awards for certain achievements and so on. But is there any direct linkage between performance and pay?
I would say in terms of compensation, no, just in thinking of a working and wage agreement and the limitations, or at least the parameters associated with that. We have had times in which we have given incentives that were of a pay nature, which we are not always able to do based on our resources, but we have done that in the past.
Rob? We were also given a handout that's entitled Ways in Which Accidents Are Reviewed. Was this part of your information?
That's part of if we were to go into the accident review process, that is not what he's addressing now, but we do have that.
Okay, well, this question may pertain, because it's the back page of this, it says corrective action. Mm-hmm. An operator is subject to termination following 4 preventable accident determinations in a rolling 2-year period. My question is, does this vary at all based on the severity of the incidents or crashes?
Does our decision whether to go through the termination vary?
Well, I guess if, let's say, you say 4 in a 2-year period, and as a traffic engineer, you may enjoy this, but people often call me on the phone and tell me how many people have to die before I'll do something. Mm-hmm. So translating that into the operator case, if the operator was involved in 2 preventable injury crashes in a 2-year period, would you wait for 2 more before you terminated them?
Our approach, and this may not fully answer, but our approach has been to follow pretty carefully the 4 preventables in a 2-year period, whether they're mirrors, whether they're fenders, or even collisions of substance. If we have an egregious accident, we don't follow the 4 at all. If it warrants action and action now, then a person and people have been subject to termination, have been terminated for a serious accident. That's essentially the way we've done it.
And is that pretty clear what an egregious accident is, or is that very much the judgment of the team? It
is. I think it's clear in the sense that when it happens, we pull people together who are all aware that this is a very significant accident, certainly of the type that we had recently, loss of lives, serious harm. But those are typically decisions made as a team at a pretty high level when we get to that. So safety is involved with that, and we determine if that's what we need to do, we go forward with it.
What's your
Other questions?
What's your termination rate?
Say again, Amy?
What's your termination rate?
For accidents or just in general?
No, from employees.
I don't have a specific data figure for you. That's a good question. But I'm not sure how
just from the environment, is it difficult or to terminate someone?
Well, we have a pretty rigorous due process as a public agency and in connection with working with the labor force,
Yep.
represented labor force. It's a challenging process, but it also requires of us that we look very carefully at things. So we can't move as quickly sometimes as we would like, but the good side of it is we look very closely at all the facts. But it is arduous.
I guess I was picking up from Robert's question on, are there things that this, automatically leads to termination versus, this leads to something else? Is there kind of clear guidelines? But it sounds like, as you said, it's a team discussion
Yes.
and approach to that.
Our distinction between progressive discipline in particular is sort of the majority of circumstances. Then we understand that there are times when we go to immediate termination, and those things are definitely team decisions.
Thanks.
Other questions for Hayden?
I have a beauty,
Yep.
I'm not sure it's a fair question. Well, I keep saying that, I guess.
You
Not sure what a fair question is.
you have said that a number of times.
No, here's kind of what I'm thinking about, Tom, and Hayden, say only what you can about this. You do have a unionized labor force, you have a labor contract in place, and I presume if it's like most, it has a grievance procedure in it and a bunch of other stuff procedurally that you have to adhere to and work with. The fundamental question in my head, as we try to think about how do we elevate safety to the level of a corporate value, probably the corporate value followed by others, and make it part of a culture that is positive and totally committed to customer service, which implies safety. Is the union a team in doing those kinds of things and dealing with employees in terms of training and compensation and innovation, or is this a grizzly bear and a bull elk across the creek from one another waiting to fight? Help me out here. What kind of a situation do we have there?
Well, let me answer that maybe in terms of just my direct experience. I've worked, as a station manager, I've worked with, I want to say 6 or 7 e-board officers at all 3 bus garages. And I never found an e-board officer that wasn't sensitive to safety. So I don't see that as any kind, of a block in terms of a culture of safety or supporting safety in whatever way that we determine is the best practice.
Is there a shared objective for excellence at the highest level?
Are you speaking again of?
Twice the agency and the union?
I think, well, I hesitate to define that too specifically. I think because the ATU is made up of employees who have been, frontline employees, that they share those same values. So I don't see where they. I've never experienced anything where the folks that I've worked with where they thought we should not be the best that we could be.
Roger, I would add 2 comments there. One is sort of the Boy Scout one. An organization like TriMet gets exactly the kind of labor relations that they deserve. And it is both Boy Scout and it is from 45 years of practice in organizations that have an organized labor force. And if you're looking for fights all the time, you will always get them. And if you are not, and you are fair and clear, you will have an entirely different climate. Second point, as safety becomes clear to TriMet that it is a value, not a priority, it is non-negotiable. If you didn't hear me, it is non-negotiable. Could I be any clearer? It is non-negotiable, at which point, if not immediately, the ATU will come around to, yeah, that's fine, that's non-negotiable. We're not going to waste any time trying to negotiate it. We don't need to. It's not in the interest of our members. Besides, if we ask the majority of our members, should we negotiate on safety, the response would be, are you crazy? So, Hayden, thank you.
Yep, thanks, Dave.